Bernard Tyson is the head of the Kaiser's chairman and CEO, and he will be joined on stage by my friend, the co-anchor of Squawk Alley on CNBC, John Ford. Mr. Tyson, Mr. Ford, please step forward. Guys, welcome. Take it away. Welcome, Bernard. Good to see you.
Thank you. All right.
Well, thanks for being with us. I first met you face-to-face earlier this year at a technology conference, actually. So I'm glad we get to have this conversation now. Just to get us, I mean, we were just talking about the scale of Kaiser, 12.3 million members in 8 states and DC. That sort of scale presents some interesting technology possibilities. And you guys are on the path of a digital transformation right now, doing a lot of things with mobile, with data. Just to start, what's one of the biggest surprises that you've had insight so far from that engagement with your members?
It's great to see you. How much they're embracing it. We now do more contact via the technology than the actual, on-site visits. Because we now have the ability to do telehealth, secure messaging, video conferencing. In most of our regions, soon to be in all of our regions, if you are having some kind of an issue and you don't think you need to go in, but you need some medical advice, you can text your physician, you can go into secure messaging to your physician, you can set up a video conference, you can set up an appointment. The system will ask you, do you think you need to be seen in person, or would you prefer a phone call or a video conference? Then on the physician side, they'll assess it with the team and determine if it's something that would warrant a video conference or a telehealth conference, then they can proceed from there.
And you kind of expected that people might be slower, the patients might be slower to take that up than they have been?
Yeah. I mean, we thought everybody wanted to come in and see the doctor, right?
Right.
So there was this imagery that we had, I think, inside of the whole healthcare industry, because we pretty much have designed the entire healthcare industry up until now, where you came in for everything. And in fact, historically, the healthcare industry was designed around everything going into a hospital setting. And then it worked its way out from there. Well, now we have this strategy inside of Kaiser Permanente called Care Anywhere, which means you could be anywhere and you can get care. And our members love it. They're demanding even more. And I think the surprise is they were ready to embrace it faster than we probably anticipated.
Now, you've got health plan, hospital, specialists all together in one system. It seems to me that the potential for that is kind of like an Apple for care, right? Because you've got the different pieces together. You've got that kind of vertical potential for control, for influence, for insight. So how do you think about healthcare, the best possible healthcare as a technology problem then? What do you hope to be able to do with the placement of sensors, with your members, with the data that you get from that you couldn't do yesterday?
Well, I mean, if you stop and think about sensors, for example, in the 21st century, right now for medical care and care needs, the sensor system up until technology has been, did I feel a pain? Or did something feel unusual? So, we've had people historically walking around feeling fine, and then one day, all of a sudden, you get a bad headache, or you feel a tingling in your arms, and you say to yourself, I need to get this checked out.
Or it's a question of if you happen to be in the doctor's office, and then they've got a stethoscope or a blood pressure cuff or some sensors there on site to tell you something.
Right. So you come forward now in the 21st century, and you begin to ask yourself, which we believe in strongly, early detection, early diagnosis, early treatment is the best form of healthcare. Health is what everyone is really after.
Right.
So we don't believe in a sick care system. In other words, wait until you get sick, and then that's when all the resources kick in. We rather go upstream and find it early on. You can, in 9 out of 10 cases, get a better outcome. The member is healthier, and it costs less money. So if you have the ability now to augment the human sensor with other sensory systems, then you have a better chance than not to start to catch things even earlier. And that's where technology is driving us.
So part of what I like about this is I hear so many IT security vendors talking about their challenge in the same sort of way, right? Like you don't want to wait until you already know that you have an intrusion, until you already know that there's a problem in your system to be monitoring it. You want to have that constant sense of what's going on, what the baseline is, and then if there are any anomalies, you're kind of clued in early that something might be wrong. How is your budgeting changing, if at all, toward how much you invest in technology versus what you might have 5 years ago to drive that outcome? Are you investing more?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's a great.
Where do you take it from?
No, it's a great question. It's a great question. So I would say 5 years ago, we spent a lot of money on technology inside of Kaiser Permanente. So we've done that historically because we've always embraced technology. I mean, you could go back to the 74 years ago and our forefathers, they were trying to use some form of technology during that time. So that's in our DNA.
Right.
We've never looked at technology as it's there to replace people, right? It's always been to make us more effective, efficient, better outcomes, et cetera. It affects jobs, but that could mean somebody else is now learning a new set of skills because the technology is allowing us to do more and better things.
Won't it replace some people, though?
Well, inevitably, some jobs will be impacted, but new jobs will be created.
Okay.
We have new jobs today that we didn't have before. We have physicians skilled on texting as a skill now, not as a casual situation. We have a Colorado Center where you have physicians in there, and it's a profession, and it's almost like an orchestra. They play it like music. It's beautiful to watch, by the way.
Probably more beautiful
something
than
I
their,
could, yeah,
more beautiful
something
than their handwriting.
couldn't do.
Probably,
right, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
but it comes with that kind of skill set. Wow. And just think about if you're working at McDonald's and you have a 15-minute break and you need to check out something with your physician. Well, that's what that is about. That's about a rapid response. And texting is designed for that. Is where you get enough information to determine if you need to make that next step. And so that's a skill that's required. So there could be some jobs eliminated because of technology, but also some jobs created. But our view as an organization have always been high tech, high touch. And so we don't look at technology as it's there as a philosophy to replace you. It's there to augment and to take it to the next level of possibility.
We've been talking about efficiency in this context of the system that you're running. We're in a political season. I know this is one of your favorite topics. There's a lot of talk about Medicare for all. And the argument is, with that kind of scale, there'll be more influence over cost. Do you think that's a valid argument? And how does the technology argument versus the Medicare for all scale argument, how do you evaluate the two as far as their potential to drive better outcomes and more affordable outcomes in healthcare?
Well, you know, the biggest issue that a lot of people are dealing with, and certainly what we're dealing with inside of the healthcare system, and specifically Kaiser Permanente, is the affordability of care. So when you think about affordability of the American healthcare system, you have to think about it in two ways, or along two dimensions: the affordability of coverage and the affordability of care. So the narrative over the last 12 to 15 years have been on the coverage side. So as a result, you have many, quote, insurance companies who have created products that got to a price point of one would call affordability of coverage. So the employer, for example, might say, this is all I'm going to pay, or this is all of the increase that I would pay, and I want you to produce a deductible product for my employee.
Here's how much
right?
I got. What do you give
And
me for
here's
that?
yeah, so you're an employee, you get this package, and you think it's affordable because you're paying whatever, $200 for it. That's affordability of coverage. Then you get sick, and you come in for care. And all of a sudden, you discover that you now owe $500 or $1,000 or $10,000 before the, quote, insurance kick in.
Right.
And so you got affordability of coverage, you got the insurance coverage, but you do not have affordability of care because you cannot come up with $500, $1,000, $10,000. So the question is, do you want to spend now time on Medicare for All where you disrupt all the coverage, which is what that is about? That's a coverage issue.
Not a care issue.
That's not a care issue. And all the cost is really in the care delivery. And even in the Affordable Care Act, it was designed along two dimensions, coverage and care. As a country, we never got to the coverage side of affordability because we've been focused on the care side, because we've been focused on the coverage side, and because it was a partisan law, the other half of the partisan agreement has not been willing to do anything really to revise or to fix what isn't working in the Affordable Care Act that could be fixed.
You guys are in the process right now of building a new headquarters in Oakland. And it's going to be really big, like bigger than Salesforce's here in San Francisco, just for a scale comparison. It's interesting, you're not only going to have more than 7,000 employees there, right? But you're also going to do farmers markets in there. You're going to have not just your corporate headquarters, but also medical facilities. What kinds of technology are you building into that plan? I think you're going to start in construction next year.
Next year.
That goes along with this journey of getting more good information to improve care that we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's our new Thrive Center in Oakland, California.
Right.
We right now have about 7 large buildings in Oakland, and we're going to consolidate it down to one building. And so in essence, we're moving all of our mainly administrative folks from the different offices in Oakland into this Thrive Center. Then we're going to have a care delivery site downstairs and everything. We plan to leverage this and really think innovatively about how to use space and technology to create a health environment for, number one, the number of people that's going to be working there every day. Mm-hmm. And so our agenda of Thrive, of total health, of the well-being of our members also apply to the people of Kaiser Permanente. And so one of the things that we're going to be working on is what is the right environment for the future workforce. The second thing is we're going to take advantage of the technology that is available that allows us to create an environment that is conducive to the diversity of people that we're going to be having in the organization and the different requirements that we're going to have. And so in addition to all of the things that you would naturally think about from security, that include physical security to cybersecurity, to air quality, to space quality, and then technology that allows people to work in the office or remotely outside of the office.
Are you pushing more remote work or less these days?
We're going to be pushing more remote work. I mean, and a lot of that is going on now. The work that follows you. I mean, all of us are used to that now. That it used to be a time where you went to work. Now work follows you. And
I do both. It follows me and I go to work, right?
Well, I'm down with that. But now, how do you create an environment like that, right? And the second thing is, what's really been on my mind is the set of HR policies that we have in place in corporate America probably is outdated. And I want to actively look at those policies inside of this context as we think about the future workforce. So what is time off now? What does that mean? How do I think about different benefit structures that deals with the different stages that a person is in his or her life or career? And so is everybody after retirement benefits on day one if you're 21 years old and you're thinking about paying for college tuition, you're thinking about a family, you're thinking about your first home? So how might we rethink the set of benefits around there? How do you deal with the fact that the number one issue in work in America today is stress and depression?
Right.
There are more people, disabilities for depression is the number one cause of our payouts in corporate America. And so how do we begin to think differently about the most precious asset that we have, which are our people? And that's ahead of technology. And then how do you complement the two to create more value for our members, for our communities, for our customers, but not at the expense of our tremendously important asset, our people?
Want to let you know that we are open for questions. We got some microphones, a couple here, one here. So I'm going to keep asking questions as you get your questions ready. We probably have time to fit in a couple. What's the most promising technology that you see that you think is going to get you more insight, more velocity in this journey that you're on, whether it's on the consumer in the form of a watch or something else, or on the back end, tools for data analysis?
Oh, I think both. You know, you hear a lot about all the challenges in the medical field, and there are a lot of them, no question about it. But the transformation that's going on, I hope no one misses that. One of the things, you know, we talk a lot about the high cost of drugs, and it is a very important topic, because what good is a drug if it's unaffordable to the majority of the people who need it, number one. And number two, if it continues this world of the haves and the have-nots. So if you have coverage, if you have Kaiser Permanente, you get the drug. If you don't have it, you will not. The reason why this is important, in my almost over 40-year career, I never mentally thought about that I might be a part of the generation in which there are drugs and therapies that can cure. Most of healthcare has been about managing, right?
Yeah.
And the hepatitis C drug was the first real sign that this was possible. Well, there are drugs now in the pipe that may be coming out over the next 5 to 10 years that might offer cures to things that's been plaguing us, like diabetes and some of the heart diseases. And so you start to think about a new world where drug therapy has a whole different meaning. The problem, though, is if it's going to be $1 million a pill or $1 million a treatment every single time it comes out,
right,
and it's taking care of millions of people, then the affordability question becomes front and center. At the same time, we now have, through AI, the ability to rethink how we provide care in our systems around the country. A great example within Kaiser Permanente, we now use AI information in our hospitals that monitor you as a patient as long as you're in our hospitals. And we have these rapid response teams that historically were there to deal with cold blues, to deal with you having a very traumatic experience that could include dying, and you get these resources flying from all over the place, and they come in and they provide emergency care to the patient on site.
But now it's
Well,
it's different with AI?
now you're laying in our beds, and we're, through the AI intelligence, they're monitoring your signs in ways that we could never do that with human resources, right? Just not enough people focus on that. They will give a message to the response team if they're starting to pick up on algorithms that might suggest that 18 hours from now, you're going to deteriorate to this level. And it gives the medical team a chance to go upstream and to change the procedure before this inevitably would happen. And so now you're laying in your bed, and all of a sudden the team is coming in, you watching TV, you wondering what's going on. They say, we're here to make sure this incident doesn't happen 18 hours from now.
Wow, wow. Do we have any questions out here? See one here? One here?
Sure, it's John Dome with Lightfield Lab. Kaiser has a long history of investing in IT in order to provide a variety of different capabilities, from HRIS all the way to some of the things that you've discussed lately. Can you talk a little bit about, over the years, at least as you have knowledge, where have you seen the best progress and where have you seen the greatest areas for improvement?
Yeah, great question. I think that, and in fact, this goes back to the earlier question that we started to go down this path on. I would say what is dramatically different today, because we've invested so much in technology, we've thought about it within the system of Kaiser Permanente. So we built our own data warehouses, and we created our own, if you will, internal systems to take care of our ever-growing IT demands. And then we invested in innovation and things like that. Now, 7 years ago, I would have told you, I'm not sure yet how we're going to use the cloud. 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I would have said, what cloud? What is this? I don't even know what this means.
Right.
Well, now, cloud technology is so good that we have actually reduced the number of warehousing that we need, because we have shipped a lot of our information into these secure cloud technologies. And we have a couple of big contracts with reputable IT companies that we're letting them manage that now. And it's a tremendous cost savings to our members, and it's more efficient. And I feel much better about the cybersecurity apparatus around it than some of the things that I've seen in other areas. And so that's where you see technology that has advanced, and it's a direct benefit to Kaiser Permanente.
I think we can fit one more question in here.
Super, thank you. So I'm a computer scientist, I'm in software, and one of the big things that we do is abstractions. So we have to abstract things to be able to make sense of them. You talked about two abstractions, the affordability of coverage and the affordability of care. It strikes me that maybe we're exposing, and in software we expose too low a level of abstractions all the time. That's what we're guilty of. Is affordability of coverage something that we should even be thinking about, when it strikes me that affordability of care is ultimately what we as consumers are after?
Yeah, I think you hit it. I think you said it very well, and you hit it right on the head. And that's been my argument, our argument, is that no matter what you're going to focus on, when you're talking about coverage, it's only going to do so much. All the money is on the care side, right? And that's not intended to be a negative statement, but we work on this all the time inside of Kaiser Permanente. So the coverage, you stop and think about the whole point of coverage is to have access to care when you need it. And so think about how you would feel if all of a sudden you're walking around with a Kaiser Permanente card, and then you come in for care and you're being told you have to pay $500. And 40% of Americans don't have $400 to spend on, right? And so you've lost the argument right there with the person, rightfully so. That person should be upset, and they are, because now they don't have the ability to really have the coverage that they thought they were going to get. The efficiency possibilities of the healthcare system is on the care side. And that's really where the policies and the initiatives and the focus needs to be, to drive the changes inside of the healthcare industry to create more results. And then the last thing, to your point, the majority of the healthcare system is still based on a fee-for-service business, right?
Right.
Ours is not. And so you have a situation in our case where our Medicare days, how long a senior would stay in the hospital, is significantly less than you will find in the commercial fee-for-service industry. Well, the difference is we keep our members in the hospital as long as they need to be kept in there, but then we have all these other resources that goes with them in an outpatient setting or a home setting. But if you're a fee-for-service and you only get paid for heads in the bed, then your incentive is to deal with that patient in the bed, and you don't think about the resources afterwards. Well, focusing on care will start to address those types of issues.
And technology, it looks like, is going to help you continue to monitor those patients even more closely after they leave the
That's
actual
exactly
facility.
right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great being here.